unpack that a bit is a representative or an epidemiologist from the National Leprosy, Tuberculosis and Lung Disease Program, Drusilla Nyaboke. Thank you so much for creating time. Jaden's case would be one of the many that would send chills down our spines, you know. One hand, a message of hope. On the other hand, a lot of fear in this family and many other families in the country. What would be the overall TB burden, you know, and current national trends in the country?
Thank you very much, Linda. And indeed, happy that that story got highlighted. TB is a disease of public health importance. And globally, in the year 2024, we had over 10 million people falling ill with TB. Closer home, we had 117,000 Kenyans who fell ill with TB. And through efforts, the country was able to detect, diagnose, and treat shy of 97,000, about 96,000. So we see there's still a gap, yeah, but consistently, efforts have been improving in terms of detecting and notifying and initiating on treatment such children. And that is for drug-sensitive TB. Jaden's case is drug-resistant TB. So we have two types of TB.
Yes, what are the difference?
Yes, yes. So drug-sensitive TB is TB that responds to the conventional drugs. There's no resistance. Yeah, then drug-resistant TB is when there's resistance of one or more drugs. In Jaden's case, MDR, multi-drug resistant TB, that is resistance to two key drugs, which rifampicin and isoniazid, there are key drugs in TB treatment. The beauty is, and the good news is that TB is a treatable disease.
But how does it metamorphosize from this first level to that level of Jaden's? Or, I mean, it's a whole different thing with different people?
Okay, so with the drug-resistant TB, we have what we call primary, meaning this is the first time you're getting it, or others that you'd find that a patient had drug-sensitive TB, then slowly with time, depending on how the medication was, they develop into drug-resistant TB. So let me start with Jaden's case. When you have primary multi-drug-resistant TB, meaning that patient or that person has been exposed to someone who has drug-resistant TB. So that exposure, because as you know, TB is airborne. Yeah, meaning that anyone who's alive and breathing is at risk of getting TB. So TB is airborne. So in the case of primary MDR is when probably they got exposed to someone who had the MDR, and that is the first type of TB that they get. In other instances, you may find someone developed drug-sensitive TB. Then if they do not adhere to their treatment as required, with time, they can actually be able to develop the resistance form. That's why it's important that when they have started treatment, they have to undergo follow-up. In this case, we have to ensure that we monitor them frequently. They produce sputum such that you're able to monitor them on treatment and adhere to their treatment as well. And I'm happy Immaculate, Jaden's mother, mentioned they have a strict time for taking this medication to ensure that they do not miss out on that, because drug adherence and following up is very important to ensure that all those who develop drug-sensitive TB are able to continue and cure appropriately, because TB is a treatable and curable disease.
And I'm glad that you mentioned that, because that's one hope that we need to ensure that is sold and is actually bought by the people out here.
Absolutely.
But even before it gets to that element of treatment, I know the government and basically we as a people have been so huge on the question of preventive care as opposed to getting to curative. I mean, just what are some of the things to look out for, and how do you ensure that you take care of yourself so that we do not get to levels where people are diagnosed with TB?
So TB on the preventive arm, TB is, as you said, it's preventable, treatable, and curable. And looking at it on the treatable, we have to, it is a multi-prong. Number one, we need to do the basics. We need to ensure ventilation. As mentioned, it's airborne. And when someone with TB coughs, they release thousands of the bacilli into the air. So if the place is well aerated, it is well ventilated, the windows are open, out the sunlight, then those bacilli ends up being killed. So that in itself, ensuring aeration, whether it is at home, proper ventilation, within the public transport, ensuring the windows are open, it's important to just get to ensure there's that free flow of air in terms of the bacilli. Number two, for those who already have been diagnosed with TB or anyone who has signs and symptoms like coughing, it's important they practice cough etiquette. When they are coughing, they should be able to practice cough etiquette to ensure that they minimize the bacilli that is reduced during that coughing act. In addition, diagnosing and putting them on treatment early ensures that we cut the transmission tap. Yeah, because TB is airborne. So when you're able to cut the transmission tap, then you reduce the number of people who the person can be able to infect to. Further down, we have what we call TB preventive therapy. TB preventive therapy is a drug that is used for those who are at risk of getting TB disease so that they can be able to take it for these 3 months and these 6 months to reduce the probability of them getting. And we are targeting 5 categories of people for the TB preventive therapy. Number one, we are looking at the household contacts. Someone who has TB, so their household contacts, because they are at a higher risk, they are pre-exposed to the patient who's currently taking TB treatment, so the household contacts. The second category is the people living with HIV. They are also a key category for taking the TB preventive therapy. We also have the prisons, people within the prison in the prison setting. The healthcare workers, by virtue of their work, predisposes them and puts them at a higher risk, so it's recommended they take TB preventive therapy. And the last one is other clinical risk group, people who have other conditions that reduces the immune system, like those with cancer and other conditions. So by taking TB preventive therapy also puts these populations that are at risk to be able to reduce the incidence of developing into the disease. Allow me to go back and mention, Linda, that there's what we call TB infection and TB disease. TB infection is when
How deep is this information? Because I don't want to cut you in the line, so I would ask for you to allow us to take a quick short break. It's exactly 9:30. And then we come back and get to understand that, including the concerns that arise as to the reduced donor funding. Drusilla, after this short break, we come back with more, so don't you go.